All right. I have 3, Mr. Rick Hall, and right here are, yes, I have the names for you.
Bless your heart.
The first one is Larry and Margaret Lee.
Okay.
I am Margaret Lee.
Thank you. Margaret Lee, L-double-E?
That's right.
Okay.
And this is Mr. Larry Lee videotaping you at this moment.
That's right.
I have a television program, Margaret Lee, Special People and Places. Now the next one, my husband has a twin brother, Terry, and this is to Terry and Helen Lee.
Okay. Terry.
Yes. They live in Cleveland, Tennessee,
Okay.
or they would have been happy to be here today. And we have a third book
Okay.
for Lanny,
Yes, ma'am.
L-A-N-N-Y.
Lanny and Deb Cap.
Yes, that's right. We met Judy Hood.
3 books.
We met Judy Hood last October. She is your #1 fan. You know that. You know that. And I just knew Muscle Shoals music, but I didn't even know the name Rick Hall. But after meeting Judy Hood, then you want to know more stories about Rick Hall, because
she's got a lot of stories about Rick Hall.
she is something else.
Oh,
She said you are the one that started the magic.
Well, I was.
So
19,
she just wants you to get all the recognition possible.
Yeah, bless her heart. She's a sweetheart. Isn't
Oh,
she?
she is. You're #1 fan. You're up on a pedestal along with David Hood.
Yes, yes. Of course, David's her husband.
Right.
And, you know, to be up there with him is pretty tough.
Just stick that in your pocket if you
Thank you,
would.
darling.
Okay. Thank you so much.
He published the book.
Oh my goodness.
I'm the publisher.
Sure.
Sherm Smith. Heritage Builders Publisher.
We are so excited about this book. I know. Well, you were too, obviously.
Well, of course. I mean, I'm eating and breathing. And I'm here every month, and
Oh, where's home for you?
Monterey, California.
Oh my.
So I fly into Muscle Shoals and work with the Halls, and I've done another book here. I'm going to have some more. So we're just real excited about what's going on in this place. Yeah. So the Muscle Shoals, this book, the documentary ends in 1972. So it's Rick's eclectic career up until that area, and then from then on is the book, and it goes back into some of the early life, but then it will tell you the stories that you have questions about while you're watching the documentary. So then the book tells the rest of the story, and it's right up to Sherm Smith walking into Fame Studios.
Oh, wonderful.
So yeah, we're right up to date. So it's been exciting, and to work with Rick is awesome.
What a great project. We could not believe it. Now, I knew about the Muscle Shoals sound, but I didn't even know the name Rick Hall. We grew up out of state. even though this is, born in Alabama.
Right.
But still, didn't know the name Rick Hall until I met Judy Hood. And once you meet Judy
She's
Hood,
incredible, isn't she?
she is. She's his number one fan.
She is. There's no doubt about it.
Aside from her husband, David Hood, a swamper.
Yeah.
But after that, I just want to know more and more and more.
Of course, and the amazing thing is that I didn't know where Muscle Shoals I heard of Fame, but I thought Fame was in Los Angeles or New York. I had no idea it was over here in Muscle Shoals. But here's the amazing thing that I'm finding out as I come in and out of here for the last 3 years, and that is that the people in the cities here, the Quad Cities, really don't understand that while the black people were in the mess they were back in the 60s, and the governor keeping the black kids out of the schools, and Aretha Franklin was marching on the bridge, just like Arthur Alexander, and they were doing that, Percy Sledge, they were doing that while they were recording in the studio of a white man. And on top of that, the great part of this is that while that was all happening, Rick Hall was up here in this little corner of the world making superstars out of black people with white musicians.
Yes.
And so that to me, that resonated, and I'm going, I grew up in the South in Kentucky, so I have to go do this book. I have to do this book. And so it's just been, our publicity teams are just salivating to get this, because outside of the area, northern Alabama and Nashville area, Rick Hall's not, no one knows that Rick Hall is behind all that. But it doesn't take 2 minutes anywhere talking about him.
When you know the music, you think,
goodness,
this man was phenomenal.
Yeah, it's amazing, and how this book is taking off, and we're just happy as we can be.
Well, we're so glad you did it, Sherm, that this was a labor of love for you and a project that you just had to do. How long did it take?
Well, Rick took 10 years to write this book. When he first had the idea, the inclination, the drive, the resolve to do it. And he and Terry Pace, who's the co-writer with him, it took 10 years. And then after I received the manuscripts, then it was another almost 2 years getting the book into the shape where we could publish the book. And so it's been a labor of love. This is his legacy. And oddly enough, I was telling he and Linda Hall the other night at dinner, it's also mine. This book is going to be part of my legacy, of all the books that I publish and the great books that I have been part of. This is going to be part of my legacy, and I'm just ecstatic to meet you guys and know everybody down here. And I love Muscle Shoals. I really do.
Well, it's a special place.
If Kathy Smith would move here, we'd be gone.
Well, we're looking forward to you coming and we spend more time together.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you bring your bride next time. Sure. When people that are not as fortunate as we were today to be here for the book signing in the Music Hall of Fame, how may people get this book?
They can get the book in any bookstore after April 7th, Amazon.com or heritagebuilders.com. You can order the book there. And so it will be available everywhere. All right, and as a bonus, of course, the documentary, Muscle Shoals, award-winning documentary, #1 documentary 2013 of all documentaries, comes in the book. We put it in the book. So they get a bargain here to get this incredible story of Rick Hall's life and the music that shaped Muscle Shoals' sound, plus the documentary. So it's just going to be a great thing for everybody.
It is, and I can't wait to read mine. Thank you so much, Sherm, for talking to us. It'll be out there.
On the internet.
And it was the occasion of the book signing for Rick Hall.
Yeah, the man from Muscle Shoals.
The man from Muscle Shoals. This wonderful book. Sherm published this.
Yes.
And he is a publisher. You are Heritage Builders Publishing Company, and out of California. So you can see why this man is so special to me. Rick Hall, this was such a wonderful time. When did you actually meet Rick Hall?
Well, I met Rick at the at the Hall of Fame, the Alabama Hall of Fame. I was the speaker the night that Peanut Montgomery, who was a major writer for 30 years for George Jones.
Oh, my.
So Peanut was getting his star that night, and I met many, many, many country music and music stars that evening, and Rick Hall was one of them, and then I ended up publishing Rick's book.
Oh my gosh, one of the legends.
Yeah, well,
this man.
He's amazing, and
This man.
he's the #1 music producer in the world of all time, so there's not enough you can say about Rick Hall.
It's true. This man was world renowned, wasn't he?
And still is.
And still is.
Yes.
People appreciate what he did.
Absolutely.
And anybody from Alabama, well, anybody would enjoy reading this. Just a wonderful, wonderful thing for history. I am so glad you were able to do this.
Well, it was one of the highlights of my whole career. So when I first came to Muscle Shoals was for the book The Legend of George Jones, which I'm sure we'll talk about here in a few minutes. But yeah, so no, I was unfamiliar with that whole genre, that whole world. I love the Southern rock music. I love the Muscle Shoals sound. And the people that were produced at Fame Studios. I mean, I love those people. They were my favorite singers, but I had no clue they were coming out of Muscle Shoals. Absolutely none. And I remember the night I stayed at a hotel right next to. I was not in here to meet with Rick Hall. I was in here for the George Jones book, and that was my introduction to Muscle Shoals.
Oh,
and so I was staying not far from Fame Studios, and I looked at Fame Studios. I had no clue what it was, and not until someone told me you were just talking to Rick Hall. And one of the giveaways were the photographers standing around us taking pictures while he was taking photos while he and I were talking, and I'm thinking, this man is somebody.
These photographers know him.
Yeah, that was a great night. He's a favorite son in Alabama. He's a friend of mine. I love him. So
major musicians all over the world coming into little Muscle Shoals, and like you said, Judy, it was just a little block building.
Yeah, the little cement building where the Stones recorded 3 of their biggest hits. In a 3-day period, they recorded Wild Horses, Brown Sugar, and You Gotta Move. In 3 days in Muscle Shoals.
Recorded Kodachrome. Bob Seger recorded Main Street.
Rod Stewart recorded Sailing. And of course, Mavis Staples and the Staples Singers recorded I'll Take You There.
Millie Jackson recorded Caught Up. And Sanford and Townsend recorded Smoke from a Distant Fire. And
Linda Ronstadt. What recordings? Linda Ronstadt did quite a bit of recording here. Tony Orlando.
Etta James cut 2 albums.
At last, my love has come along.
It is amazing. You know, I first start really as the Queen of Soul at Fame Studio with Spooner Oldham saving the day on that. Well, actually, I think it was that one of those keyboards, I believe. He played that one on What a Man Loves a Woman.
My goodness.
Percy Sledge is another great.
And that was #1, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think that.
It was the first #1 for Atlantic Records, and it was the first gold record out of the area and for Atlantic as well.
Percy Sledge. And he's an Alabama boy?
He grew up just a couple of miles from here.
18 miles from here. When he got started, he was an orderly at the hospital in Crawford County.
People are coming here because they want the Swampers to be on their record, or they want it to be recorded at Fame, you know, because of Rick Hall, such a rock star in his own right as a producer. So,
matter of fact, he put out a really good record this year on himself and Hugh Banks. And
playing mandolin.
He did.
He's playing mandolin.
I didn't realize he could play himself.
Oh, he was a musician in the early days, and he started out as that. Then he became a songwriter. Then he became a producer and a lot of other hats that he's worn throughout the years in various parts of the industry.
So he recorded himself.
Yeah, well, at his studio, he certainly did.
It's
And
really good.
it is good. And he was very proud of that, and I think it's fun. I hope he'll record some more, because we need a lot of Rick Hall in our lives. He's around for us to learn from and to hear stories. We need a lot of Rick.
This gives you an idea of some of the hits that Rick has produced over the years, starting with Arthur Alexander and the soul acts like James and Bobby Purify and the Jimmy Hughes, Wilson Pickett, people like that he's worked with over the years. And then there are others, the pop side. He did the Osmonds, One Bad Apple, and had 20-something million sellers on their stuff. And quite a few others.
So his Fame studio from 1957 until today, still open as a Fame?
Mm-hmm. Yes, he is. His studio is the longest continuously operating studio under the same ownership in the country.
Possibly in the world, even.
Most likely it is.
I know definitely in the country, yeah.
Quite an
Being
accomplishment,
from
isn't
Muscle
it?
Shoals, Tuscumbia specific, it's delightful to have our speaker today. David Hood is a name I'd known sometime, and now I know Judy Hood. Judy Hood is a marketing communications professional whose career spans more than 3 decades and includes leadership positions in the Times Daily newspaper, the Alabama Music Hall of Fame. It is delightful to have Judy with us down in this area, and she will answer questions at the end. Judy Hood.
How many of y'all have seen the documentary called Muscle Shoals? Okay, a few of you have. Since it debuted at the Sundance Film Festival in January of 2013, it has served as a catalyst that has reignited the spark that made Muscle Shoals the hit recording capital of the world. It's the documentary, as Jerry mentioned, focuses on Fame studio owner Rick Hall and his house band, which was the Swampers. And so the foundation, we raised some money, and the effort was spearheaded by Rodney Hall, who's Rick Hall's son, and we were able to get that into a not-for-profit hands, so that studio now can be open for generations to come for people to. But I looked around that room, and they were going to do a Q&A afterwards with Rick Hall and the Swampers, and I was wondering what the first question might be, because it was such a question came from a guy from San Diego who stood up and said, "Are you people ready for the influx of tourism that's going to happen in Muscle Shoals? Because everybody in this room wants to come there and see your singing river and experience the magic in these studios where all this great music was produced." So the next day, they met with Rick Hall and my husband and Jimmy Johnson and started the ball rolling on doing the documentary.
Now this was the add-on done in 1967. The original studio, Studio A, was built in 1962 after Rick Hall had his success on a young artist by the name of Arthur Alexander. Got the first international hit out of the state of Alabama being Arthur Alexander's You Better Move On, which is kind of cool because the Rolling Stones recut that record, the side B of the record, and it was recut by the Beatles. You know, just the 2 biggest rock and roll bands on the entire planet. So it's pretty cool. With all that money and success, Rick Hall built this studio, well, I guess that studio over there, right in 1962. So pretty much everybody y'all just saw on the wall as y'all were passing in, they saw that in the side of the studio like y'all are seeing it now, which is kind of too cool for school. The first hit actually recorded out of Studio A was Jimmy Hughes' Steal Away. And with that, Rick started having a whole lot of overflow. He had the only professional recording studio in the state of Alabama, and to be honest, the only one outside of Memphis or Nashville. So a lot of people started wanting to come to him. Quinn Ivey came up to Rick and said, Rick, man, I really, I want some of that overflow. Will you send my way? I'm trying to get in this music business, man. He said, absolutely. In fact, there's this young cat in here earlier today, Percy Sledge. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. You can have him. Well, about 6 months later, Quinn Ivy comes back with When a Man Loves a Woman, thinks it's a hit. Rick Hall agrees, and he calls up Jerry Wexler, the A&R head of Atlantic Records, and Wexler likes the song well enough, but really doesn't like the recording of the song, so he decides that he's going to cut another version of it. And when they went to actually press the record and distribute it, they ended up selling the Quinn Ivy version, not the Jerry Wexler version. Jerry's completely blown away by this. Can't believe that this version of this song is such a huge success. And so that starts our relationship between Jerry Wexler and Fame Recording Studios. The first big act Atlantic Records sends down here is a guy named Wilson Pickett. He's kind of crazy. He's originally from Alabama, but moves up to Detroit about as quickly as he possibly could. Came down here, and when he got off the plane in Muscle Shoals, met what he thought would be a black man named Rick Hall. Sees this white boy in his suit and thinks it's the sheriff. Told him to go straight back to Detroit. Don't even step foot in Muscle Shoals. Now, of course, it is Rick. He instantly threw his arm right around Wilson Pickett. Said, hey, man, we're going to cut some funky records. Within 3 hours of him walking through our front door, he cuts Land of 1,000 Dances, one of his biggest hits. Not only that, Mustang Sally, Funky Broadway. But to be honest, my favorite song he cut here was his version of Hey Jude with Dwayne Allman on it. It's pretty cool. Dwayne Allman first came down here after, cutting with a band called Hourglass, which was like a 60s psychedelic band. He really didn't like playing with them that much because they only played 3 shows in a year. He wanted to play music every single day for a living. So he came down here, talked to Rick, and to be honest, Rick will work with anybody, black, white, purple, and gold, but was raised that a man should have short hair. So when Dwayne Allman came down here looking like a long-haired hippie, he said, son, I got 15 guitar players in the back here, dime a dozen. You can go on somewhere else. Well, Dwayne pitched a tent in our parking lot for an entire month before Rick would hear him play. Now, of course, once he did, it's Dwayne Allman. He signed him to a session player, artist, and songwriting contract because he was such an amazing guitarist. So it's pretty cool. Rick would come back here, and this is the room. He likes to actually call Studio B the band room because he'd come back here. This is where all the session players used to hang out while they were cutting over in Studio A. He'd come back here, and all the session players would be asleep underneath quilts. He'd come kick Dwayne awake and be like, all right, Dwayne, you got to play on this session. Dwayne would wake up and be like, I don't know, Rick, man.
We have just had our book signed by the man himself, Mr. Rick Hall, and here's somebody else who's very happy to meet Mr. Rick Hall. Did you know him before? What is your name?
I'm Christy Gibson, and I live in Ankeny, Iowa.
Iowa!
But I grew up in the Quad Cities, Muscle Shoals, and as a teenager, we all wanted to go see Rick Hall. That was the big thing, is to pass Fame Studios, and we would never go in. We were afraid because these were big people,
That's true. The biggest came from all over the world.
Absolutely. And so we were, at that time in my life, I was afraid. At my age now, I would walk right on in,
But still a little bit intimidated in that time.
Yes, absolutely. Okay. And so I don't ever recall a time, as I told Rick a while ago, when Fame Studios was not ever there. As long as I can remember, that building has remained. And I think that's a great legacy for him. I really do. He's
an icon.
Absolutely. He started from a simple life, and he
overcome so much tragedy. I'm just getting to know about him.
Yes. And my mother, she loved the documentary, and I took it upon myself to bring her actually to this book signing because she has always wanted to meet him.
Are you waiting live?
No, I'm not.
Okay.
Don't make it bad. Take a sad song and make it better. Remember to let it in your heart. Then you can start to make it better.
So you were in town. I came home. happened to find this through a friend, and I said, okay, we've got to do this. So I'm just delighted to be here. So,
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, I love Muscle Shoals. It's my home away from home, you know. So.
Well, it is, and they've got big things coming. You know, they're going to capitalize it. There's some investments of people coming in, and they're going to make some big things here. So
Well, the
your mother
Music
might have
Hall
told
of
you.
Fame, when I grew up, was not here.
Yes. Well,
And when this was built, it's like all of a sudden everything started growing and changing, and everybody was beautifying this area, and it's beautiful. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah, it's
and what a
beautiful.
heritage. Aren't you glad you
Yes,
were
I'm
part
glad
of
I'm part of the
it?
Quad Cities, yes. Even though I live in Iowa, my heart's in Alabama.
Hey, Christy, introduce us to your mother.
Yes, this is my mom, Geneva Ware, and she is the reason I'm here.
Okay.
I came, again, I've come from Iowa and to visit her. And she has always wanted to meet Rick Hall, and me too. And we were fortunate enough that he just happened to have this book signing
This
at the
was the
Alabama Music
day.
Hall of Fame. So
This was the day.
we had planned this a week ago as soon as we found out.
Our children, our son and daughter-in-law, drove over from Marietta, Georgia. The same thing, to meet this man.
Yeah.
Oh, we were so excited. I know you were too.
And Mother, tell him when was the first time you ever heard Rick Hall's name?
Well, we lived here during the 70s.
Oh,
From
yeah.
69 to 79.
Christy said she grew up here.
Yes.
Yeah.
And country music is just my thing, and his recording studio is just the ultimate for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Big fan for
Yes.
many years.
Yes.
And she's watched his documentary how many times I've lost count.
I've got it recorded, and every time I have company, I play
You know,
that.
that was very exciting to me. I was a teenager.
missed it.
And Mother got home, she's like, you're not going to believe who we saw standing. And Wayne Newton came over and shook their hand. If they'd have had cell phones back then, they could have got that
They could have
picture.
called you right away, too. So what about Wayne Newton? When was that?
So it was in
78.
1978 for sure.
All right.
And Wayne Newton, I remember they came home, you're not going to believe who came to the airport in Muscle Shoals, the little small Muscle Shoals airport.
Oh, and it's amazing. All the whole
And the
world came here.
Osmonds would come to Rick's house, and he'd keep them at his home. And we'd drive them, we'd just drive by,
Just to get a glimpse.
And we would try to call, when I was a teenager, we would try to call Rick Hall's home. I mean, were we not something? Were we not something? Me and my
Typical
friend, I
teenagers.
still remember doing that. 'Cause
And
my
then they'd
best
hang
friend-
up. They'd hang.
Well, no, we wanted to know if the Osmonds were there. We loved Donny Osmond. I mean, it was like he was a big deal
that's
then.
right.
Oh,
That's
yeah, I had
right.
his poster above
The
my bed.
teeny boppers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We loved Donny Osmond, and so we thought he was there, and my friend said, let's call Rick Hall.